This is my custom-built LEGO Concorde in the British Airways livery. It consists of around 4,500 LEGO pieces and took me 8 months to build. In this video, we'll take a look at the motorized landing gear, brick-built logos, the delta wing with engines, and the movable nose with its integrated visor. We'll also look at some of the rare parts I used, the challenges I faced, and a few tricks along the way. Stick around till the end and don't forget to subscribe. My main goals for the design were smooth curves, high recognizability without using stickers, and full motorization. The scale is about 1:50, pretty much the same as my 747. I thought it would be great to have them displayed together. The Concorde is about 1.4 meters long, 59 centimeters wide, and 26 centimeters tall. Let's have a closer look at the build. The landing gear on my model is fully motorized. I built it to work and behave just like it does on the real airplane. It was especially important to me to make it strong enough to support the overall weight without compromising its appearance. The two main landing gear assemblies are mounted under the wing next to the engines. Each bogie has 4 wheels and the characteristic water deflector in front of the tires. To cover the landing gear openings in the fuselage, Concorde uses 2 doors. The remaining opening under the wing is covered by panels attached to the gear struts themselves. When retracting, they fold inward into the lower part of the fuselage. The prototypes already showed how challenging this would be. The wing is very thin, and there is barely any space for the tires inside the fuselage. I even had to bend the rigid hoses for the doors to get clearance. The front landing gear is a little longer, making Concorde sit at a slight nose-high angle on the ground. The landing gear doors are synchronized with the rear ones. The gear strut retracts forward and is stowed inside the fuselage. Like on the real aircraft, there are 3 smaller doors to cover remaining gaps. In my model, these are spring-loaded, so they open and close automatically, leaving barely any gap when retracted. There is also a 4th small gear at the very rear to prevent tail strikes. It's synchronized with the main assembly and retracts and extends accordingly. Here you can see the entire landing gear in action. This model shows Concorde's oval fuselage cross-section. There's not much space left for motors, the battery box, and gears. The tiny windows posted a real challenge. Even 1x1 round tiles were too big to capture the scale properly. In the end, I used jumper plates, and for better contrast, I pressed a small piece of rigid hose into the hole of the stud. The wings are one of Concorde's most recognizable features. Their smooth delta shape was what kept me from building the plane for a long time. I couldn't find a way to properly shape and hinge the leading edge. My plan was to create its shape using these 2x2 curved slopes. When combined, the wing ends up 4 plates thick, with the top and bottom layers made of tiles. I ended up shaping the distinctive delta wing using wedge plates. There's a large variety of wedge plates with different angles available, but for Concorde's wing, I needed an angle between the 2x4 wedge plate and the 2x2 triangular piece. I solved this by changing the stud direction on a larger triangular element. The remaining gap is closed using these new slope elements. The different sections of the leading edge are connected with hinge plates, which works perfectly for the outer curve. At the inner front curve, I ran into a problem. Mounting the hinge on the outside interfered with the lower curved slope. The easiest fix would have been to thicken the wing by 1 plate and place the hinge between the 2 curved slopes. Instead, I used 1x1 plates with clips to align the sections and have the wing as thin as possible. In places where studs didn't allow for a hinged connection to the wing, I used a string element to secure the assembly. I also installed 2 more hinge plates on top of each other and used their extended pivot point to secure them underneath the wedge plates to prevent vertical movement. The engines are mounted under the wing. Although there are many different LEGO slopes available, none of them matches the angle of the engine intakes. But instead, I found a rare part from the 1990s that fits perfectly. Unfortunately, they sell for around €5 each, and I needed 6 of them. The characteristic engine nozzles at the rear were shaped using 2 mudguard elements each. You can even add some flame pieces to mimic the afterburners. This is what Concorde probably looked like right after takeoff, with full afterburners engaged. Concorde's nose could be lowered for landing and takeoff, but it wasn't just the nose, there was also a retractable visor. This assembly proved to be the most complex part of the build. Getting the proportions of the nose right was already challenging, but integrating the visor mechanism made it even trickier. I ended up with an empty space about the size of a 2x6x2 brick inside. This is all the space available for the mechanism. The visor and nose are driven by a single motor inside the fuselage, so the mechanism is designed to retract the visor first and then lower the nose, just like on the real plane. This allows the 4 characteristic nose positions to be displayed: visor up with nose up, visor down with nose up, visor down with nose partially down, and visor down with nose fully down. The visor's motion is highly sensitive to small changes in the kinematics. Even minimal adjustments alter its characteristic movement. In this example, you can see how a small change in the left pivot point affects the overall motion. Considering this, I'm especially proud of how narrow the gap to the fuselage remains when the visor moves. I quite like how the British Airways tail logo instantly stands out when you look at the model. The characteristic shape is created using curved slopes and upside-down building techniques. To connect these 2x2 triangular tiles in the front, I used an old version of this piece. Its middle ring is thinner, allowing the tiles to sit flush with the surface. The tail is the only part of the build I designed in studio. Fitting the movable rudder within the curved shape of the logo took me 14 iterations. Finally, the leading edge simply clips on, folds around the tail, and is held in place by a groove at the lower end. Even though the fuselage is packed with motors, the whole build turned out surprisingly strong. You can hold it by the fuselage, flip the plane upside down, or even lift it by the wings without a problem. Looking back, I'm really glad I didn't take any shortcuts and stayed true to both design and functionality. In the end, it really paid off. Concorde turned out much more elegant than I ever expected. There were plenty of moments when I thought, this just isn't going to work. But that's probably what made the project so satisfying in the end, and also why it took me forever to finish. I'm really happy with how it turned out, especially seeing it next to the 747. If you like to support future projects and get some exclusive insights, make sure to check out my Patreon in the video description. But now, it's your turn. I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.